Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm here to talk about some more Walking Dead crossovers because Fear the Walking Dead Season 5 is beginning very shortly, just under 2 weeks away. And over the last couple of weeks and months, the Fear the Walking Dead showrunners and Scott Gimple have been teasing more crossovers to happen in this Walking Dead universe. And I do think more crossovers will happen. Specifically, I personally think there will be characters from Fear going on to The Walking Dead, and we're going to discuss all that in this video today. But we're also going to talk about some interviews and some stuff they said specifically, and then you guys in the comments down below can talk about what you think is going to happen. So with that being said, let's get started. So yeah, like I said, Fear the Walking Dead is starting up very shortly, so I want to take the time to talk about some stuff that could be going down in Fear and possibly season 10 of The Walking Dead too, which what I think it might be happening, tying into that radio. We will be doing reviews and breakdowns of the trailers and stuff for Fear the Walking Dead on this channel, so if you are a fan, be sure to subscribe. But yeah, the showrunner, I want to talk first what the showrunners of Fear the Walking Dead said when they were asked about the crossovers, because we already have two crossovers happening, Morgan and Dwight. We haven't seen Dwight just yet, but I'm very excited for Dwight because he's been gone all of season 9, and he's one of the better characters, like one of the newer characters who got introduced in season 6, and he's actually a really good character. I think Austin Emilio did a great job with him, and I can't wait to see him. But yeah, that being said, let's talk about what the showrunner said. So back at WonderCon, Ian Chambliss, he's one of the showrunners, they asked him about, more crossovers, and this is what he had to say. He said, "Co-showrunner Andrew Chambliss and I are really just focused on Fear. Scott Gimple is in charge of the greater universe. I think we can say it's a universe that's constantly expanding and intersecting with each other, so anything is possible. We've seen crossovers happen, and they've been really exciting, so I'd say expect more." So yeah, there you go. You see, it's interesting because I do think, obviously he would know if there's more crossovers on Fear the Walking Dead because he's the showrunner, but I do think there might be crossovers at the end of the season to The Walking Dead. And Gimple, which we're going to get to in just a minute, he did say that we're going to have announcements throughout the summer. It's going to be a busy summer, I think, for The Walking Dead because they're also filming that new show in Virginia, that third series. And then obviously season 10 is filming right now. And I think if there is going to be a crossover onto season 10 of The Walking Dead, they're going to want to announce that before they film, or at least because the same thing they did with Dwight and Morgan. I remember they announced Morgan's like the day before he began filming because it was on Talking Dead, and he said, "I begin filming on Fear tomorrow." So I think they know that they film in the public, so it's pretty obvious that people could see somebody from one show on another. So I think that's why they want to announce it. So if there is going to be any crossovers, unless they keep it under really under wraps, I think we are going to be getting some news shortly because they are filming season 10 now. But before we get into what the crossovers could be exactly, I want to read what Gimple said during this interview. It was with Digital Spy, and he said this when asked about more crossovers. He said, "It's a rare thing. It's not going to happen like this a lot, but I will say there are different sorts of crossovers we are going to do to tie the shows together, tie the universes together in certain ways that have to do with the greater happenings in the world. In telling stories of the past, we might see characters interact, or just see those characters we've not seen in a while." So Gimple keeps mentioning the greater universe, which I find interesting because the greater universe, I think, is separate than what's going on in The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead, because those are universes we're kind of attached to and familiar with. He keeps mentioning the greater universe, and I do think they're tying everything together, including the Rick Grimes movies, which we're going to discuss in just a minute, because I want to read that quote about that first half of Fear season 5 has to do with the Walking Dead story. Like basically, they're saying that a Walking Dead story will continue on Fear the Walking Dead, which is interesting. And I have a feeling that they are gonna merge the shows, and what he's saying here, like the different sorts of crossovers we are gonna do to tie the shows together and tie the universes together, I do think that a full merge is inevitable. I do think it's gonna happen sometime in the future, even if it's not season 5, if it's season 6 or 7 of Fear or whatever. I do think that there will be characters from Fear going on to The Walking Dead, and I really hope it does happen in season 5. And the reason why I think this merger is bound to happen is because they brought it up on season 4 of Fear. Morgan brought it up to Althea, and she was excited. She wanted to go see the kingdom and the king and all that, and everybody was on board by the end of the season, and then last second they changed their plans. and they decided to go help out everybody else with the trucks. Now, I don't think that's wrong or anything, but the fact that they brought it up, I do think they're going to go back to it, because imagine if Fear the Walking Dead ends and they never go back to it. Wouldn't that feel very incomplete for the series? Like, they brought up a storyline, they even started on the storyline, and they just like completely dipped on it. Like, I just feel like that would not be a smart move. And I know that, I feel like if they end it, they would know that, oh, fans are always going to be asking about this. So why would we bring up something that we're not going to really touch on? So I do think they're going to go back to it eventually. And then one last thing I want to read from Gimple before we talk about exactly how this crossover could go down. And you guys in the comments down below can comment your crossover idea. So this is also what Gimple had to say about Fear the Walking Dead Season 5. He said, Fear the Walking Dead is coming up in June, and there is a story in the first half of the season that has to do with one of the greater stories of the universe that will bring in some of the things that all you guys have seen before, and it will expand it out just a little bit more, and then we'll have an announcement. So again, with the greater universe, and then also he said, then we'll have an announcement. So I do think the announcement is going to come during the summer. I'm not sure why everybody thought the announcement was going to come before. Well, I do understand it, because if there was a crossover on like early on season 10, then yeah, they would announce it. But if it's going to happen later on in season 10, like let's say the second half, which is more likely because the first half of season 10 is going to be focusing on the Whisper War, then they most likely will have this announcement after the first half of season 5 of Fear, because it kind of, works well together. The first 8 episodes, and then by then they're probably going to be filming the second half of season 10, and then they can make that announcement if there is going to be a crossover. But going back to the greater stories of the universe, for me, that has Rick written all over it. Really, it does, because they keep teasing that there is gonna be that they keep teasing that this story on Fear has to do with The Walking Dead, and I'm not really sure what this has to do with the Whisperers, or it could be the Commonwealth, but I do think it's connected with Rick. And they're very sly about it. They're keeping it under wraps, but I do think they have a vision of how they want the things to go down, and it only makes sense for it all to tie in with the Rick Grimes movies, because it's not going to be like it is a separate thing, but he's still part of the universe, and that's why they made those movies, because they wanted Rick to be part of the universe for it to feel complete by the end of it. So I think they know what they're doing, and I think that's why it's kind of confusing. We gotta read between the lines and whatnot. But I do think that this, or the group that we're going to be meeting in season 5 is going to be connected with Rick's group. And the reason why I think the group that we're meeting in season 5 of Fear has to do with Rick is just because of everything we know about the group. Like, the stuff on the trailer, the dude is wearing like a hazmat suit. There's a walker that definitely seemed to be experimented on with radioactive stuff. And there's even like this radioactive sign. And it definitely is something that is, similar to Rick's group, because remember Jadis, like she was sending people to this community who were banned. Like, why would you, what are you gonna do with somebody who's banned besides kill them, right? Like, you're not, and they were giving Jadis and her people food for it. So obviously it was more than just killing, it was probably experimenting. Because if you have somebody who's bitten and they're not dead yet, that could be very rare for you. And because a lot of people get bitten and then die, or some people just get bitten or just torn apart. Most people don't get banned, and you can just they're there for you. They slowly turn, and those people, they could have an advantage with those people because they could experiment on them. So I do think that's what's happening here, and I can't wait for Fear the Walking Dead season 5. Like, I'm very, very excited for it, because I think I really hope, because we also have that plane, and this group is definitely militarized. If they're doing experiments and stuff, I don't think they're really worried about surviving. I'm sure they're a pretty solid group when it comes to handling themselves. So I can't wait to see what exactly is going on, and I do think it would be awesome. And if they do say they're going to be connecting the universes, a very easy way to do that is if we have that symbol that was on the helicopter that took Rick away. If we see that symbol somewhere in season 5, like either on a wall or a building or even a vehicle or something, that would be awesome. I think fans would love that. And some early reviews came in for Fear the Walking Dead. The first 4 episodes they sent out to some critics, and they all are kind of similar. They say that there's improvement. It's a little slow in the beginning, but for the most part, they are all really positive, which is good. Especially, I like reading the Forbes review, because Forbes is like they're not biased, because in the past they have said some really negative things about The Walking Dead, and then they also recently said some really positive stuff about The Walking Dead. So they're always like a reviewer that I find interesting because they're not biased or anything. And they did say that the first 4 episodes of season 5 has some improvement, which is always great to hear, because season 4 was not that good story wise. Like, I like the characters, like I really like all the characters. That's why I really hope this merger happens sometime in the future. Hopefully, maybe at the end of season 5, season 6 or something, but hopefully it does happen, because the stories are connected now, the universe is connected, so the characters are what's really important. And The Walking Dead, I always think, is more of a character driven story, so I would love to see the merger happen. But regardless, at least it does look to have some improvement, and I cannot wait for it. And I just quickly wanted to talk about all this stuff because season 5 is beginning in just under 2 weeks. Like I said, I'm gonna be doing reviews and stuff like that we usually do, so stay tuned for that. But let me know in the comments down below, your thoughts on all the crossover stuff. Like, how do you think the crossover is gonna happen? Do you think more are gonna cross over to Fear, or do you think Fear is gonna cross over to the main show? I hope Fear cross over to the main show, like at least some of the characters at the end, because they keep teasing it, and I think it is bound to be happening. But let me know in the comments down below your thoughts and opinions. I am gonna wrap it up there for this video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, be sure to leave a like rating, and for more Walking Dead content, just hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys later.